My nephew Mikey bought this 1994 Ford F150 pickup truck for $800, and I've been shaking it down for him. When I filled the tank with gas, it rained gas on the ground. I mean, not drip, but rained it. This is the fix for it, was a new lock ring and O-ring on the fuel tank. I didn't film this like I normally do chronologically because I wasn't sure what I was going to get into, but I'll show you some of the topics I ran into. Here I am putting the fuel pump and sending unit back in with that new O-ring. The old O-ring had swollen. It looked to me like they had replaced either the fuel pump or sending unit before because there were butt connectors on the wiring. And I don't know if the O-ring had swollen when they tried to put it back together. It didn't quite fit. But when I got to it, it was just pushed out. So the new O-ring is going to fix it. This goes in, and there's some tabs to line it up with. I should have probably zoomed in and showed you a little more there, but you'll figure it out. And then there's the new lock ring. It goes in and just turns. And to turn it, I used a long screwdriver, and I promise you I wasn't prying on the hard lines coming out. There's tabs sticking up from the top of the lock ring. I got across that, and you just turn it till it locks in. There you can see it. And then another topic is these quick connectors. Put these fuel lines on. I'm going to show it to you with the tank out of the way because there's no way I could film it and do it at the same time. But they just clip right on. They're pretty easy to put on. That's why they call them quick connects. And there's these little metal clips that lock it in place, kind of a safety thing. They just snap on there too. Take those off, you just pry them off with a screwdriver. But to take the hoses off, you need to buy a tool that fits up in the connector and pushes the fingers back so you can disconnect them. Here's the tool. It's like $8. There's two different size lines, so it's got two different sizes on it. You slip that over the hard line and then push it up in the connector, and it pushes the fingers back. See it's going into the connector there? That releases it. You just push the hose in a little bit and then pull it right off. So it's not too bad. It's just hard to film with the tank in the way, so I just showed you there separately. These are the straps to hold the tank in. You're going to have these in and out a few times. Here I am putting them back in, but you're going to have to lower and raise this tank and while you're hooking up lines. They're just 4 bolts, two on each end, one on each end rather. I just buzzed them in and out. I think the bolt was different size than the nut, so I think it's like 5/8 and 11/16. I'm using a 5/8 socket and 11/16 wrench, I think. From the hard filler line, there are 2 rubber filler lines. There's an inner and an outer. And here I've left the outer rubber filler line on the tank, and you can see it slipping over the inner. And that kind of guides it all the way up to the metal filler neck. And you kind of wiggle that in there to get it over the frame rail. Then outside the frame rail, that'll attach to the hard line coming down from the cap. And this is kind of tricky. You got to do a lot of wiggling. I'll show it here, getting it up as far as I can. Then I'll move the camera to the outside of the frame rail just above the leaf spring. You got to get it started on there. Reach up in there and wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Once you get it started, then you can move the tank back and forth, and it'll kind of get a little further. And then I'll cut because it's about 10 minutes of wiggling and prying and messing with it to get it all the way on. Because it goes on about 1.5 inches before you can hook the hose clamp to it. Once you get that hose clamp on there, you can let the tank hang from that. And that's how I got a lot of the lines off, was just hanging on this hose. with it drooping on the passenger side of the truck. Otherwise, you can't get your arms up in there. There's a cross member in front of the tank, so you got to hang that tank down on the passenger side to get your arms up in there. That's a 5/16 nut driver or air ratchet like I used. Here's the vent tube. It's just a rubber hose going into a plastic hose barb. So that's how you get it on and off. See the tank hanging down from the passenger side? That's hanging from the filler neck hoses. This is how you're going to do a lot of this disassembly. You probably take the quick connect lines off in this same way. At least I did. But to put them on, you got to put the tank back up in there. Like I got it now. I'm hooking up the electrics. 4-wire connector for the sending unit and pump. And then you got to drop the tank down to get a straight shot at the quick connect line. Here I'm showing the larger line on the left. I've already got the smaller line on the right hooked up. Drop it down to where you can get a straight shot at it and push that quick connect on until it goes snap, and then pull on it, make sure it's on there good. And then you'll have to drop the tank back down. There's enough slack in the hose. You drop it back down on the passenger side so you can get in there and put the metal clips on. I couldn't film that. You can't get a camera and your arms up in there. That's how I did that. And then you put those straps back on, your tank's back up, you're ready for gas again. If you have any other reason to take the bed off, it'd be 100% easier with the bed off. It would be a bear laying on the ground doing this. You know, luckily I've got the oil change pit. But you can do it. It's not impossible. I don't know if you have to change your fuel pump or your sending unit or something. Don't be scared. You can do this. Truck on.